As a reminder, I am using Windows 10 inside of a virtual machine on my Mac. I am doing this to show how to get started using a relatively fresh and clean operating system installation, and also because I love the pain of using Windows 10 in a virtual machine. Sad face. Okay, let's dive in. The first thing we need to do is grab Visual Studio Community from the website. Not Visual Studio Code, but Visual Studio. We can get the Community Edition. Just go up here and just Google for it. Visual Studio Community. All right, we want the 2019 Community Edition. Go ahead and download it. Once you have that, then resume this video. Okay, once you have the installer downloaded, go here and run the installer. And we need to configure it to build C++ apps. If you already have Visual Studio installed, but you're using it for JavaScript or C# or something else, but you don't have C++ installed, run the installer and set it up the way I'm about to show you once this thing launches in 10 minutes. So we have this here, Visual Studio Community 2019. Click the Modify button. And what we want to do is set it up for C++ development. So go to here, Desktop Development with C++. Make sure that's enabled. And what you want to configure, you're going to want Clang tools. You're going to want the address sanitizer. You're going to want IntelliCode. We don't need live share. We don't need test adapter for Google Test. We do not need boost.test. We need the latest v142 build tools. We don't need CMake. We need the profiling tools. We need the just-in-time debugger. We need this guy and we need this guy. All right, so set your thing up so that way it's got these. And then just click install while downloading. All right, once everything is installed, you can quit Visual Studio. The next step is to download the Juice framework, or sorry, not download, but clone the Juice framework. Okay, we always want to clone it so we have access to the repository history. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use fork, which is the Git GUI, to interact with this repository. So you can get that if you open your browser. You can grab that from fork.dev. It's available for Mac and for Windows, okay? So you can go ahead and grab it here. Download fork for Windows. Okay, once you've got fork installed, we need to configure it to store everything in our preferred location, any repositories that it clones, all that sort of thing. Launch fork, go to the File menu, go to Preferences, and we need to specify the default clone folder. I like to keep things in a folder called Programming. I have it right here on my desktop. I could move it somewhere else, but for the sake of this tutorial, it's right here on the desktop. So I just navigate to that, click this folder button, find where I'm gonna put it. Basically anything that I'm gonna clone is going to go there. So I'm going to put it on the desktop, Programming, like that. Select folder. Okay, now anything that I clone is going to go into that folder in its own repository. Now we need to navigate to the Juice framework and get the URL for that. So open up your browser, open up a new tab, then visit github.com/juice-framework, WORK/JUCE in all caps. Here's the Juice framework. Now we need to click this code button right here, click the copy button, and go back to fork. And now we can do file, clone. It's going to auto-populate this repository URL, and it's going to save it into the programming folder that we requested. Click the clone button, and you will be downloading a copy of the Juice repository to your computer. Okay, cloned. All right, perfect. Now we have a copy of Juice on our computer. The next thing to do is to build the ProJuicer, which creates Juice projects for us. But before we do that, Juice is a pretty old framework. By default, the master branch or main branch is checked out. However, there have been several commits since the most recent branch. Oh, spinning wheel. A lot of things have been fixed in the Juice framework since the master branch was last updated. So we want to check out the develop branch. Okay, so just double click right on origin/develop, and then it will prompt to create a branch and track the remote branch. Click the track button. Now we can open up ProJuicer and build it. Okay, so click on this open in button right here and choose open in File Explorer. Now we need to navigate to the extras, ProJuicer, navigate to builds, Visual Studio 2019, and then we're going to open up this solution file. we can just go to the build menu and choose build solution. This is going to build Producer for us. Now we just need to wait for it to finish compiling. All right, build succeeded. Fantastic. We can close the Visual Studio project now. Now we can create a plugin project next. Navigate to the x64 folder, click on debug, click on app, and now we're looking for producer.exe. There it is. All right, double click it to launch. Now, if this is the first time you are using Producer, it's gonna ask you to sign in. We wanna turn on GPL mode. If this is not the first time, you've probably already set it up. But normally what you will see, you'll go to the file menu, you will choose sign in. It'll show this thing. You can, if you have a Juice account, you can set that up, or you can enable GPL mode. Now, GPL mode has the requirement that we make our projects open source. So yeah, make your project open source. Okay. In the Simple EQ project, a lot of people left comments that they created an audio application, or they were missing the plugin processor file. And that's because they created an audio application instead of a plugin, instead of a basic plugin. So for this, you definitely want to make sure, you are definitely going to want to make sure that you choose the plugin category and that you choose basic. All right, first thing that we need to do, we need to give it the name, simple MB comp, and then create project. Oh, I'm sorry, before you do that, if Producer says you need to set your paths because you had downloaded Juice to a directory that's not the standard directory it's expecting, go here under the file menu, go to global paths, and then customize these paths here. This is what I'm talking about. When you install it to the default location, it's expecting Juice to go in a folder on the root level of your hard drive. So obviously I put mine in this programming folder on the desktop, so that is not where my Juice folder is, and that is not where the modules folder is. So I'm going to click these three dots. I'm going to choose the Juice folder and then select folder. And I'm going to do the same thing for the modules. Go to the modules folder, select folder, and I can close this window now. All right, now I can create this. All right, I want to put this in my programming folder with Juice and the other stuff I've made. This is going to create the project. The next thing that we need to do is enable the plugin copy step. This is going to copy the plugin when we compile it to the folder that most hosts, Reaper, Cubase, Ableton, they're all looking for plugins in this one folder. So this is going to enable copying it there automatically. In this view, click on exporters, click on debug, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see where it says enable plugin copy step. Make sure this is set to enabled. All right, we'll figure out where this actually gets copied to in a little bit. Next, we need to change the C++ version. So go up here, go to, let's see, this is down at the bottom of this list, okay? Scroll all the way to the end, then scroll up a little bit and change the C++ language standard to C++ 17. All right, next we want to supply our company name. So let's do that first. I'm going to type mine, Matt Cat Music LLC. When we scan for the plugin in Audio Plugin Host, whatever we put here is the name that it's going to appear as. It's going to show up as a submenu under this name right here. Okay, we may or may not need to set this using namespace Juice. So we'll come back to that. First thing we're going to do is we're going to save and launch this. Save and open in IDE. This is going to launch Visual Studio. We're going to find out whether or not we need to turn on that using namespace Juice. So go to the build menu, and we're just going to try to build this real quick. Rebuild solution. And if we get any errors about namespace stuff, then we will turn that on. Let's see what happens. Okay, cool. All right, so the copy step failed, but we don't have any error messages relating to the namespace Juice. Let's do the next thing, which is to create a repository for our project first, and then we will deal with this copy step. All right, we can close this for now. Okay, to create a repository, open fork, and then do file, init new repository, and choose the simple MB comp folder for the project. Now you'll notice that there are a ton of files here listed under local changes. So we need to customize the git ignore file for this project and ignore all of this stuff. The reason we are doing that is because all of this stuff gets created automatically by Producer whenever we save and open in IDE or when we compile. Like you'll see there's all these object files and stuff. So we want to right click, choose ignore, custom pattern, **, and for this we're going to type *// builds. Then, and what this is going to do is it's going to ignore all of the files that are in the builds directory. We want to do the same thing for juice library code. So */ juice library code, like that. Now, if for some reason we want to migrate this project over to Mac, it's very handy to add */ .ds store. That's going to ignore any ds store files on Mac. These files control how the Finder's view looks. Basically, if it's showing icons, or if it's showing a list, or if it's showing if it's arranged by name, or if it's arranged by day created, that sort of stuff. That information is stored in these ds store files. Okay, add to git ignore. You can see we only have the 4 source files, our git ignore file, and the juicer file. Now we can make our initial commit. Let's stage these by clicking the Stage All button, and now committing them. Initial commit. Now we can save and open in IDE. Go ahead and go back to Visual Studio, save and open in IDE. This will launch Visual Studio one more time. Okay, on the right side is the Solution Explorer. We want to right click on the standalone plugin and choose Set as Startup Project. Okay, now we can build and run it by clicking on this local Windows debugger. Let's see if this throws an error with regard to the copy step or not. It shouldn't, because we're not spawning the copy step version. We're not spawning the VST3. This is the default audio plugin from Producer. Okay, it is running inside of a standalone app that is part of the Juice framework that hosts this. Okay, it is our job to customize the DSP that runs in our plugin as well as the graphics. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though. We need to come up with a test bed so that we can actually run audio through our plugin. That's what we're going to set up next. All right, close that, close this. Let's go set up audio plugin host. Navigate to your Juice directory. Navigate to extras, navigate to audio plugin host, navigate to the juicer file and open it up in Producer. Save and open in IDE. Build it. Build the solution. Okay, build. 1 succeeded, 0 failed. Awesome. All right, we're done with audio plugin host. Okay, we can close the juicer file as well. All right, let's configure audio plugin host to launch whenever we have the VST3 as the startup project. Right click on the VST3 target, go down to properties, navigate to where it says debugging. We're going to change this command. So click on this arrow, go to browse, and we're going to look for audio plugin host. All right, got that. Build simple ME comp. Navigate to the juice folder. Navigate to the extras folder, audio plugin host, builds, Visual Studio 2019, x64, debug, app, and now audio plugin host.exe. Click apply and OK. Now we need to change the target from standalone to VST3. Change that to the startup project. And now if we build and run, it's going to fail on that copy step like we saw earlier. Let's do it anyway. All right, copy step failed. It's trying to copy to common programs wherever this thing is. Okay, so what we need to do is change the permissions of this folder to allow the current user, which is whoever we are logged in as, we need to give them write permission to this folder. So open up Explorer. This is located in the C drive, program files, common files. This is where This is where Visual Studio is trying to copy this file to. So right click, create new, create a folder, call it VST3. And then the second part of this is to change the permissions so that the logged in user can write to this folder, because Visual Studio is being run under that user's settings. Okay, so right click on this, go to properties, go to security, click on edit to change the permissions. And then we need to change the permissions for the user to be able to modify. All right, apply, okay, okay. All right, let's try this one more time. Let's see if it throws an error or not. Okay, cool, copy step completed. If we go back over here, let's see, where was that? Let's just press stop real quick. If we go to the build and scroll up to the top, we can see that one file was copied correctly. All right, let's go ahead and launch this. Now we need to scan for our plugin. So choose options, edit the list of available plugins. And now this is where we need to scan. All right, so I've already done this scan before, but I'm going to clear this list. And now I'm going to scan for new or updated VST3 plugins. All right, like I said, it's looking for program files, common files, VST3. Scan. All right, here's our plugin. Okay, now we can load it into the filter graph. Right click, go to your company name, and here's your plugin. If we double click on it, it looks identical to the standalone version we saw earlier. Okay, let's wire it up to the outputs. Just click and drag. Now we're not going to hear anything because there's nothing feeding audio into our plugin and thus going to the speakers. Let's fix that next. Go ahead and we can save this and add it to our repository. Choose File Save. And let's see. Let's add this to our repository. Desktop Programming, Simple MBQ. And then we can say this is the, we'll just call it Simple MB Comp Filter Graph. No, it'll get the extension. Save. All right, we can close that. Let's make a commit that we added this. Added filter graph. Go ahead and stage that, commit that. All right, we are going to set up audio file player so that we can run audio files through our plugin. Go ahead and close this project. Okay. In the previous tutorial video that I created, I used Apple's AU audio file player to run audio files through the Simple EQ. Windows users did not have a plugin like that at their disposal. And I saw a lot of comments in the comment section of that video about that. Like, people were just like, hey, what's the Windows equivalent to this? So this time we are going to use the audio file player plugin that I created. This plugin is a port of the Juice Audio Playback Demo app. It has been ported to work as a audio plugin. So you can see that project if you want. If you go to Open Example, Audio Playback Demo. This is what this guy, well, we're not going to look at that right now. But if you want to check it out, just load that up, save it, build it. You know what to do because you've already done it a few times with Producer and this project and with Audio Plugin Host. Okay, let's go get this thing. All right, open up your browser. Navigate to github.com/mattcatmusic/audio. Let me spell that right. Audio file player. Okay, now we want to grab the code from this. Copy. We're done here. In fork, we want to clone. All right, it's already populated for us. Clone it. All right, let's open it in Finder or in File Explorer. Okay, open up the Juicer file. Save and open in IDE. Now we just need to build it. Build solution. This should also copy the VST3 to that folder. Let's see what it does. May need to change the build target. Creating library. One file copied. Okay, that should be okay. All right, let's close this. Now we can go back to our project. Let's close audio file player, the juicer file, close that guy. And we can also close this repository. We don't need that anymore. All right, go back to our simple multiband comp. Let's load up Xcode, let's launch it, and then we will configure audio plugin host to use it. Go ahead and run it. Now we need to scan for our plugins one more time because we just compiled the new one. So go to the options menu, edit the list of available plugins, options, scan for new or updated VST3s, scan. There is our audio file player. So we can right click here, Matcat Music LLC, that's the name it's going to be under, and then choose audio file player. And here's our plugin. All right, this is what's going to play the files. We just need to wire it up. We've got our instance in the filter graph. Okay, let's add an audio file. I've got one on the desktop. It's this guy right here. Let's start that over. All right, perfect. Let's save the filter graph. Save. All right, we can close this. What's great about this is that every time we launch this project, it's going to load that audio file automatically for us. We're not going to have to, go find the audio file every time we relaunch Audio Plugin Host. That's the problem that existed in the earlier version of this plugin that I had, that plugin was just a Band-Aid fix when I first created this simple EQ tutorial for the Windows users because I didn't realize that they would have this problem. I have since fixed that so that it now shows you, it now remembers what file you had loaded. So if we go ahead and launch this again, there's our file. And if we press play, it's gonna work as expected. So that's fantastic. All right, we'll put this guy over here. Audio plugin host is configured, and we have set up our project so that way every time we have the VST3 version set as the startup project, it's going to launch